a good-looking pan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a plan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good. Where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck, you may be Donald Duck. Hooray for Hollywood.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your host.
It's a 45-degree angle, Mark.
There we go.
It's not that complicated.
Here's your host, Robert Winfree. Yay!
Hello, everyone. As Mark mentioned, this is Damn You Hollywood. I'm Robert. How y'all doing out there? Hope you're having a good time. Because we're going to talk about a movie that, well, not so conducive to a good time. And we'll get into the specifics, but we are discussing tonight Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore, which have nothing to do with Fantastic Beasts or where you might locate them. And I will discuss the direction that this particular franchise has taken when we get to it. But in the interim, we have a couple of guests. First up, he's been here before. He knows most of what's going on around him at any given point in time. Jason Teasley, how you doing?
I know most of what. I'm the protocol son.
That's right.
As Mark likes to call me. I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Happy to be a part of Damn You Hollywood again, as always.
Jason always gets the gold star recommendation from me because he calls his podcast like 60 months to a year in advance. I just get a list and he's like, all right, Jason, you beat literally everybody to the punch tonight. So, and Jason, I hear you brought along a guest. You brought your own guest to my show.
I did, coming from the other end of the house, joining us for the first time, her first time ever on Damn You Hollywood, my wife, Amber.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Amber. It's my show. I'll pert your wife if I want to. Now, listen, I understand you do a podcast of your own. Before we get into it, just tell people who you are, what your podcast is, where they can find you. Not an official plug, just give a brief part one intro of who the hell you are besides Jason's wife.
Yes, I'm Amber, and I do a podcast with Liz on Chairshot Network, and it's Home is Where Hallmark Is, and we talk about all things Hallmark.
Is it just Hallmark Christmas movies, or is it like Hallmark, She Burnt the Meatloaf movies and got a black eye? Hallmark, like what are we doing
all
here?
the Hallmark movies, and then we do news, and then we review like the series like Chesapeake Shores and all those.
Very cool. And this is the Chairshot Network, kind of like not a sister organization to W2M, but kind of almost like a competitor. And actually, some of our content is there as well, like Talk the Keki, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
I think so. Yes.
Cool. My other question to you is: so Jason said you're a big Harry Potter fan. Just talk like 50 words or less, like how your relationship to the franchise. Did you read the books? Did you just watch the movies? Like, how big of a Harry Potter nerd are you?
I have never read the books, so I've read like the first two. Mostly started with the movies, and I was late. I didn't become a Harry Potter fan until probably about 6 years ago. And I love the world. It kind of takes you out of where we're, real life and stuff. And then my husband took me to Universal Studios. And
you have
I got
a wand?
to see.
Did you get a wand?
Yes, I have a wand. Yes, we did.
That's sweet.
I drank butterbeer. Went and did our. I'll have to show you one time. We have this like video picture thing where they put you in like those books. You know how in the books the pictures move. Like, and we have a whole thing of it.
That's cool.
Us moving and stuff.
And the highlight was you actually got to meet Mark.
Yes, I met Mark. That was the first time meeting Mark.
Last question, and then we can move on with this. What's your favorite Harry Potter movie?
Probably Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Really?
Yes.
For the love of God, why?
That's a more common answer than you might think, Mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love animals. I'm a huge animal lover. I have 4. We have lots of animals. And I have always been fascinated by mythical creatures. So the whole thing just fascinates me. And also, out of all the characters in the Harry Potter franchise, and I'm having a brain fart and can't think of the main guy in Fantastic Beasts is
Newt.
my favorite character.
Yeah,
yes.
Newt.
Eddie Redmayne. Robert, have you gone back and listened to our first 2 reviews of Fantastic Beasts and then the Crimes of Grindelwald? Because I did. What a hoot we had on those shows.
I assume I at one point again referenced the fact that Eddie Redmayne should still be in jail for armed robbery, but
Yes, you did that gag several times.
yeah, I regret that. I regret
All right.
overusing it, not making the joke.
All right, well, we have a lot of ground to cover here, so let's get into it, Robert, with the plot synopsis. Take it away.
Do we? There's not a lot of ground to cover here. So, Fantastic Beasts is going to follow the attempted rise of Gellert Grindelwald. Now, played by our third different actor to play this role, we've now got Mads Mikkelsen. And it took them 2 tries, but they finally got it right.
The irony of that is you actually said on one of the reviews, come on, man, Mads Mikkelsen is right there.
I did.
And there he is.
I said that, and I stand by it. And having now seen him do it, I was right all along. So we pick up not too long after whatever the other one was. I forget the subheading. Crimes of Grindelwald. I remembered. Albus Dumbledore is now in possession of the physical manifestation of the blood pact that he and Gellert made that prevented either of them from attacking the other at peril to their own lives. So that's why they can't actively oppose one another necessarily, and it has resulted in a weird kind of game of chess that they have to play across the political landscape. We first see Newt as he is rescuing a Chillin. Then he's ambushed. The mythical beast is killed. He finds another one because twins, apparently, were born. I'm not going to go through every detail here. There's a lot of running around. There's a lot of MacGuffin hunting. There's an attempted assassination. Grindelwald's plan is to become elected to I believe it's the Supreme Mugwump position. You are the... look, I didn't name it.
I was going to say,
really...
is this where you become the leader of the higher order of water buffalo?
Your references hurt my soul.
The Flintstones.
Please don't.
The
Twinkle Toes.
Flintstones.
Twinkle
And
Toes.
Dino, just to name a few. Come on, sing it with me, Jason. Barney, Wilma, and Bam Bam too.
Where the hell did you get this Flintstone song? This is worse. This is worse than your jazz rendition that I'll try to forget that haunts me in my dreams.
I was going to say, I think the one that sent Andrew into the woods to live deliberately in Canada was my rendition of It Was Agatha All Along that I sang at Robert. Sang at him. You were anyway. You were it's from an old Flintstones LP that I had as a kid. Go ahead, Robert.
You done?
Maybe.
Never.
No.
So that particular position is roughly analogous to the Secretary General of the United Nations. It's the entire wizarding world across the globe comes together and votes on who is the mugwump of the United Confederation of Wizards, or whatever the name of it is. I think that's what it is, actually.
The United Confederation of Wizards.
There's the International Confederation of Wizards.
Okay.
I'm more certain about that. So he first gets himself absolved of all of his crimes because of a lack of evidence via methods that are never quite made clear. Then he is allowed to run for office. Part of the logic being on the part of some of the people in power, if we just kill the guy, we're going to make a martyr out of him for his cause. How about we let him run, we let him lose, because he will. And once the people have had their say, things will go back to normal. People accept the results of free and fair elections, don't they?
Sure. They never stormed the Capitol or anything, or claim that machines were bugged. And
Oh,
change
here we go.
voting.
There we go.
They never
Hang
ballot
on.
boxes are never stuffed.
If we're gonna do this, let's do it fairly. They never call for the abolishment of the Electoral College.
Right.
They never claim that Russian collusion or interference in our elections.
They never wait 12 hours extra to call Florida or Ohio.
Or Pennsylvania.
There's a long history of this kind of crap. And that's all. That's all I'm saying. That's the extent of the political discourse we're going to get into here for anyone who just had their.
Moving on.
So to try and stop this, we have Albus Dumbledore. His plans are somewhat convoluted and half-assed.
Somewhat.
The plot contrivance for this is that Grindelwald has some kind of magic eye that gives him brief glimpses of the future.
Because he's Sauron.
So we must have half-assed plans so that he can't know what's really happening. There's one person who is sent to infiltrate the group. A couple are sent to stop an assassination attempt. Newt Scamander's brother Theseus gets arrested and thrown in a sarlacc pit, basically, with a bunch of rock lobsters, for want of a better expression.
The greatest part of the movie.
Sorry.
You can dance on the show. It's fine. Please be free to be you. I am.
She's going to do the swivel hip lobster dance.
Can't see my hips. So.
Okay. You talk, we dance.
The Batusi.
No, I'm going to let him go. I've discovered at times like this, it's best to just let him get it out of his system. So there's a lot of these. Most of the previous characters are reintroduced to varying degrees of success. The assassination is stopped. This all culminates with the election. And in order to prevent weirdness from the electoral process, they have the chilling. And these things are pure of heart. They are the most pure and wonderful magic creatures in all the magical worlds. Until we need another one for another thing next time, because this title used to be held by at least 3 other creatures. And their magical ability is they see everything. Their eyes can see straight into your soul. And if you are pure of heart, soul, mind, and body, they will bow to you as a sign of your worthiness. So there's one of these that is paraded in front of the candidates, and if it bows to one of them, hey, this will work. Now, this ties back into our beginning bit where one of the twins that were born was kidnapped by agents of Grindelwald. He has killed one of these poor creatures, and through necromancy, puppeteers its corpse to prance around in front of everyone and then bow to him. This potentially gets him elected. He then immediately tries to start a war on the Muggles, only to be stopped by the soft-spoken, oddly-looking Eddie Redmayne, who everyone listens to, who has the real live chilling. The other one finally expires for nebulous reasons. The real one looks at Grindelwald, turns away like you do. He walks through the crowd. He bows to Albus Dumbledore because Dumbledore. Dumbledore then says, "Thank you. It's a great honor, and my ego really needed the boost because I've been struggling, you see, throughout the course of this movie. But I really am not in a position to lead the International Confederation of Wizards. So please take a further look around." And then that leads us back to our original 2 candidates. We have the Brazilian woman and the Chinese man. And in the Chinese release of the movie, it bows to the Chinese guy. Everywhere else, it bows to the Brazilian woman. I joke, but I'm 90% sure that's accurate. I would bet money on it. She is elected to the position of Supreme Mugwump or whatever it is. Grindelwald, I'm not joking. Look it up if you think I am.
You were so close. So he gets elected Mugwai. Go.
Yes, and he can no longer be fed after midnight or watered.
Correct.
Or get watered, yeah.
Yeah, or being direct sunlight.
Grindelwald is somewhat upset about this. He tries to murder Credence from the first 2 movies because Ezra Miller gets one last gasp before his drunken brawls in Hawaii catch up to him. Albus and his brother Aberforth, there's a whole subplot where Credence is really Aberforth's illegitimate son, and no one cares. They Aberforth and Albus are able to stop Grindelwald's attack. The act of their spells colliding destroys the blood pact that they're non-aggression pact, because one of them's Russia, one of them's Nazi Germany, and now they're going to fight. And we get a brief battle between the two of them that ends in kind of a draw. Grindelwald then heads off into the sequel to plot his nefarious rise to power in a more direct and violent way. Amongst our other characters, we all wind up back in Queens, New York, because, well, sure, where Jacob Kowalski, our happy little non-magical person who's just been tagging along through all of this, finally gets married to his sweetheart who had joined the dark side near the end of the previous movie. She's now back in the light. They get married. Dumbledore smiles and walks off towards the Brooklyn Bridge, I assume.
He goes to see Pat. He goes hangs out with Pat and has a beer.
All right, Amber, I'm going to start with you first since you were the newest, most loveliest guest. What did you think of this movie?
I loved it.
It's okay. You're allowed to like. Don't let Robert scare you. You're allowed to like things.
But I am partial, like I have said,
Mm-hmm.
and anything to do with the Harry Potter franchise is really, I'm gonna love it regardless. But I love the comedy in it. I love the animals that were in it. It was a filler between movie, you could tell, which I'm really kind of concerned on whether they're going to have the rest of them because it's not doing real well, I don't think. But
Stay
yes,
tuned
I
for the
loved
money
it.
segment.
Yep, I loved it, but I'm partial. So, and Newt Scamander is my favorite. So,
how did it rank to you against the other two? Was it better, worse, the same?
The first one's probably the best, Where to Find Them, and then I would put this one probably last. I would put them in the order they're in.
Is there anything that like really didn't work for you, or you were let down by something that you were like, huh? My expectations were subverted here.
The ending,
Okay,
was I thought maybe there would be some type of, finality, at least a little bit.
mm-hmm.
Because they aren't sure they're going to do any of the other movies. So I kind of felt like it was a little bit of a letdown. I feel like the whole Dumbledore and Grindelwald fight towards the end could have been a little bit more. I kind of felt like it was short and very quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was probably my most disappointing of the whole movie.
Last thing before I go over to Jason, I really thought the ending was very underwhelming. Essentially, like I went with my wife and my kids, and then we went with a family friend and her kids, and my wife and her, the family friend were both big Harry Potter fans, and they were really looking forward to this. And we all kind of looked at each other, like, was it just me, or was that entire movie about a stolen election? Like, it was about a stolen election. Yeah. Are we all really underwhelmed by that and kind of thinking like suck the magic right out of this magical fantasy? And we're like, it kind of does. And I just wanted to get your take on that. When you think of like the Deathly Hallows and you had like a Wizard's War, and there really felt like, whether you liked the Deathly Hallows or not, at the end of the Harry Potter series, you felt like there were real stakes here, that these people, they had their Lord of the Rings, Mount Doom moment. If there was a sense of finality to it, and I know there may or may not be 2 more films after this, but even the final clash theoretically between Grindelwald and Dumbledore, to me, just felt like it just kind of thinking about Star Wars. It should have had an Anakin Obi-Wan feel. It doesn't. It has like a little skirmish, like there's going to be more later, which I was really disappointed by, and I just want to get your reaction to that.
Yeah, I thought you were talking to Jason.
Nope.
No.
My bad. First time, guys. Forgive me. Yes, it was very underwhelming. I expected a lot more. I expected more like what was at the end of Deathly Hallows, which was the bigger battle between Harry and Voldemort. I was very underwhelmed about the whole thing. I cried probably 3 times in the whole entire movie. I wanted there to be more at the end, just more. It just was very underwhelming.
Yeah. All right, Jason. Better, worse, the same as Nerdland. Go.
Oh, anything's better than Nerdland. Don't even tempt me with,
Better, worse, or the same as Do the Right Thing.
It's where I like Do the Right Thing better. So, but yeah, I mean, this was probably my least favorite of the three. The first one was my absolute favorite because, it was just something new to experience.
Mm-hmm.
But and it's like I said, my wife's a big Harry Potter fan, so it's something because me and her came to this together. We knew that they existed, but we hadn't seen nothing. We didn't really get into it. So, when we didn't have internet last year, we had a big snowstorm. We got both the first two on Blu-ray, and we just kind of immersed ourselves in it to pass time without internet service. So it was something I got to share with her, and we, like I said, her being a big Harry Potter fan, I'm a Harry Potter fan secretly.
He
So
says on a public podcast.
Believe it or not, he actually knows more Harry Potter trivia than I do most of the time.
Yeah, we won't talk about that though, because I'm the smartest man alive. Okay, next to Robert. But anyway, it was very underwhelming. This one was just underwhelming. It's like I just kept waiting for something big to happen, and you said that he has some eye. No, it's when he kills the thing, the changeling or whatever it is. He kills that. That's how he's able to see into the future and get the glimpses. Which Amber cried when that happened because she knew it was going to happen. The only thing I heard is, "Don't kill the baby! Don't kill the baby! Don't!" He killed the baby, and then I see her cry. So my favorite character though is honestly Jacob, because he's just relatable to me, and I see a lot of like my personality traits, except he's not an asshole, and I am. But the second one I felt the second one had a lot more action and, higher stakes than this one did. And it felt like really off because you don't really feel that like intense, dire challenge.
There's
that
no
it's
sense
building
of
up to.
urgency in this movie. I think is what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's all sizzle, no steak.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just how I feel. It's, I'm hoping that there's more and we get things. Personally, in the back of my mind, because it's already been confirmed that Voldemort's born during these movies. I think I read somewhere where he was actually born during the first one. So, you kind of have that in the back of your mind that you're waiting to see how it bridges over to the Harry Potter world, and you still have that in the back of your mind, and you're wanting it to move in that direction. So you want kind of finality with Grindelwald. So that's where it lied with me.
All right, Robert, the whole pacing of this movie felt off. It felt like a trudge. It also feels like there wasn't enough story for the movie. It seems like they were kind of kicking around an idea like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we have a lot of misdirection? But I don't know how well in actuality that was executed. So I got really aggravated at one point in the movie, and I wanted to get your opinion about this, Robert, specifically. The first act and a half is gathering up the Avengers and then sending them out on different missions. And then they all in turn fail at their missions, seemingly. And they come back to Nick Fury, and he was like, not only did we all fail, but we're worse off now than we were before. And I was thinking to myself, what was the point of any of this? And I kept coming back to that. Like, it was as like, we have to make another one of these. We have to have some degree of finality to it. We don't know what the story is, so we'll just wing it. Like, I know this is a fully developed, top tier multinational product that Warner Brothers put out, but it comes across like they didn't have a script at times and they were just shooting stuff on the fly.
Let me start with the positives. because you're correct. The pacing here is a nightmare. Jude Law as Albus Dumbledore, absolute highlight. He gets that
Yeah.
character. I mean, as soon as they cast him in that role, a lot of us went, "Yeah, that makes a lot of sense," and then he consistently nails it. So
Nobody in this movie acts badly. Everyone has great stage presence and has great charisma. I love Queenie. Her interactions with Jacob actually have a sense of tension to them. His, at the end where he's holding her shoulders and he's like, "Come on, baby, it's going to be all right," in very non-consensual 1920 speak, was fantastic. I loved it. Him interacting with Queenie and his acting overall, I think is fantastic. I think you're right about the guy who plays Dumbledore. I think he nails the character. I think he's fantastic. Eddie Redmayne doesn't quite talk with pirate mushmouth in this one. And he's not doing mumblepeg the entire time. So I actually liked him here too. And then the guy who plays his brother, I thought,
he exists.
I didn't want to go ahead and be negative and call him underwhelming, but he is definitely like low key.
Okay. Look, let's call it like it is with that character.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the actor. The character is underwhelming. And it's not the actor's fault.
Right.
Yeah, if you took him out, you would not miss him in this movie.
Like I said, I think he's I like his performance, but I think you're right. I think just the character isn't like bounds of excitement. So to your point about the positives, and I'll let you finish what you were saying. Nobody gives a bad performance. It's acted well. I think the movie, for the most part, actually looks okay. I think the aesthetic is really nice. I just hate the story, and the pacing made me want to walk into the woods to live deliberately.
Well, hang on. We mentioned the one name you didn't mention. I do want to give him credit. Mads Mikkelsen.
Sure.
They finally. I don't know why it took them 2 other movies, 2 other actors, and a lawsuit from Johnny Depp to finally arrive at the guy they should have cast to begin with.
No.
He and Jude.
Oh, wait, Amber with a hot take.
Yeah.
Which one should they have stayed with, Amber?
Johnny Depp.
Robert,
Johnny
you're not
Depp
allowed.
is Grindelwald.
Robert, you're not
He
allowed
is
to be mean.
Grindelwald.
You're not allowed to be mean to Amber, okay?
Look, you can have your opinion. That's fine. People like Johnny Depp more. I get it. He's more over the top. He's much goofier. He's a more well-known commodity, sure.
But Mads Mikkelsen is Hannibal Lecter.
He is, but more than that, like Mads and Jude Law had a spark between them that Johnny Depp and Jude Law did not.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Arrgh. That might be the best part of the movie is them two. Arrgh.
Okay, please stop.
Oh God!
That was the Dumbledore and Grindelwald, hotsy totsy.
Sword fight.
Look, there's more than enough slash fiction out there about this already. I don't need it to be brought here.
You brought it up. You said there was sexual chemistry to them, and I'm agreeing with you in my own silly way.
Yeah, and then in your silly way, you decided to go 2 steps further.
All right, I'll behave.
No, you won't.
Yeah, you it's okay. Every time they interact, like you feel that tension between them, and I think that's those two have that, whereas Johnny Depp and Jude Law just didn't.
Yeah.
I think they wrote the character of Grindelwald much less interestingly in this movie. They completely abandoned his point of view, which was one of the big selling points about why he's successful, as well as what Johnny Depp kind of was able to bring to the role in the previous movie. He got to narrate a point. He got to say, here's my worldview. Here's why I feel this way. And in places he's correct, which is why what he does works. You know, Voldemort's rise to power is predicated on fear and your own narcissism. Like how much power do you want as an individual? It's not that there's no philosophy behind it, but it's window dressing. It's entirely about his aggrandizement. I'm not saying Grindelwald doesn't have grandiose notions of himself. I'm saying he has an actual point of view about the world that is not, how about genocide? And that's what makes him more interesting. And sadly, again, they kind of abandoned that here, and it's a real shame.
Well, in defense of that, though, how many more times does he have to make that point? The whole second movie is about him making that point, and him and the rest of the world going, he's blunt, but he's got a point. This third one is now that you've made that point and you have followers and at least a snowball's chance of legally winning your political position. Now you have to execute that thing. And I actually think that's the worst part about this movie is a lot of the same complaints about like the Phantom Menace, which was, why did you take this whimsical fantasy tale and decide to laden it with politics nobody gives a shit about?
Well, there's a couple of problems with that, and I'm glad you brought up the Phantom Menace because there's a similar issue to be had here. It's not that you can't make this. It's not that you can't add political intrigue to this story. Again, if we're talking about this guy's rise to power, it's kind of important, believe it or not. But you then have to establish not only stakes, but an engagement to the audience related to that. The entire International Confederations of Wizards comes out of left field.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not an organization we have ever dealt with before. It's not I'm sure it existed, but it's never been referenced. It's never been brought. There's no sense of scope. There's no sense of stakes. How much power does this individual actually wield relative to any other government position? We
talked about this in the review, and having listened back to it. And Amber, if you want to weigh in here, just jump in. But they talked about it in the second film. If wizards are a known commodity to the world, if they come out of hiding and live, and if mutants live next to humans out in the open, this will bring about the end of the world. Now, we talked about how they kind of skip to that point and they don't really explain how we got from A to Z, but at least that's the point they're making. If wizards live amongst us and reveal themselves, it's the end of the world as we know it. They don't really then utilize this movie in any way to show, okay, if Grindelwald becomes the elected leader of wizards, what does that, other than he gets to then put forth his ideals, what then does that mean? What do the wizards do then? None of that gets really talked about. This is all about creating anarchy, essentially, so that they can get close to him.
And it's one of the things that...
Sorry, misdirection is the word I was looking for.
And it's one of the big... Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I mean, it Voldemort, Grindelwald, it's all about pure blood, half blood. Whether you're born to two wizards or you're born with muggle blood in you. So, I mean, it's the same theory. Grindelwald doesn't want, wizards fornicating, or I don't know what, marrying,
fornicating
muggles and having half-blood children. It's all about, it's the same thing.
Right.
What Grindelwald believes in, Voldemort believes in.
There needed to be a scene of like, if Grindelwald comes to power, what will he do? That never seems to get talked about.
He says towards the end that he wants a war with the Muggle world. He says that in the movie.
But
he wants to a point, he wants to destroy them.
Right, but if we eliminate the Jews, then we can take over that land and Germany will ascend to its former heights. Like, Hitler makes a very, concerted point of saying, if the Jews go away, Germany ascends because the Jews are what's holding us back. If we eliminate the Indians from North America, we can have...
became something else, but...
if we eliminate the Indians from North America, we can have transcendentalism and the United States will rise to power and it'll be a wonderful thing. Like, you have to specify what the mission objective is. To say, like, we don't want half-blood people running around. Okay, what are you gonna do? And like, we're gonna have war. If you win, what happens next?
Yeah, this is the big missed opportunity of this movie, I think. Again, you don't have to have him make the same campaign pitch that Johnny Depp did at that big meeting at the end of Crimes of Grindelwald. But if this guy is essentially campaigning for office, which is what he's doing,
right,
you need him to lay things out in a bit more concise manner. Again, saying I want to burn down the old world and build a new one. Okay, that's a very nice broad, that's a broad stroke plan.
He needed to say, I want to build a wall. I want to build a wall and I want to make Mexico pay for it. That's what he needed to say.
Yeah, like that again. Like, everyone, look, you joke, but I mean this in all sincerity. It's one thing to have a bad slogan, which, again, I will burn down your world and the Muggle world.
Right.
Okay. It's nice. Again, that looks good on a bumper sticker, I guess, but what's it mean?
Grindelwald in 2020, I will burn down the Muggle world.
I kind of felt like the point of the beginning part of the movie, and where it was not clear what he wanted, the point of that was to kind of fool people into electing him.
Within context of the film, that's fine, but you have to then speak to the audience of the film. You know, you're speaking to the players in the film and you're trying to manipulate them. That's great, and we'll watch that drama play out. But to the greater audience watching, who doesn't really have a clue what it is you're really going, you know, like I said, it's too. Let's talk about like Lord of the Rings. So Sauron wants to bring Middle Earth into darkness, and he's going to do that, you know, in various different ways, and you see that play out over 3 of the Lord of the Rings movies. You know, as stupid as the Hobbit movies are, there's a very stated objective here. We want to get to.
They're kind of dumb movies.
We want to get the Dwarven Kingdom back from the dragon, which may or may not be dead. And, you know,
use the eagles.
And if assuming we can get rid of the dragon, that Dwarven Kingdom is prime property for, you know, for a war that may happen along the way. So my point is, and we'll go back to Robert here for just a second, you know, that I don't feel like the filmmakers really knew what it was they were trying to do with this movie. They just knew they had a kind of a checklist that they needed to go through, and they went through it, but just because you have a checklist and some ideas does not mean you have a compelling story to tell and spend $200 million on. Go ahead, Robert.
So no, I think that was a missed opportunity. Again, this is a character that's supposed to have a point of view. Let's have him mention it. I mean, there's any number of ways you can get this across, and you don't necessarily have to have a campaign speech, but he spends time at like state dinners, and we never see him talk with anyone. There's just so many, or he doesn't confide in any of his underlings even. There's a bunch of opportunities for him to illuminate, and by proxy the audience safely. And it just doesn't ever happen because I don't think they really had a good handle on I'm with you. I don't think they had a good handle on this. I don't think they had a good handle on the stakes. I don't think they had a good handle on being able to convince the audience of those stakes. We bounce around the globe in this movie, and none of it feels like much happens. Like, we show up at the German Ministry of Magic, and this could be cool. I assume they have a different system. This is the 1920s in Germany. There's so much you could do with this. And it's raining, and there's some Art Deco architecture, and vague allusions to how the Gestapo would dress, and that's it. Like, there's so much wasted opportunity with a lot of that setting. So that's a pretty big problem. The pacing, like you mentioned, is just not good. I watched this movie with my mother, and my mother is not nearly as critical as I am, and she said that was slow in places. And yeah, that's a charitable way to put that.
Much like Eddie Redmayne's brother in this, understated. That's a very understated statement.
Now, I see there was 2 missed opportunities. One was they never, like you guys have been saying, they never set the stakes definitively of what will happen. Like Robert said, it painted it with a broad brush. You never got the finer details of the overall plan, and I think that's what one of the problems I had with Mads Mikkelsen in this movie is because he wasn't the character wasn't written to follow up the ending of the second movie.
Yeah.
They didn't build upon that, and I think that's the issue I had with him in this movie. And it wasn't him as the actor, it was the character. They just they built him up, and then it just dropped off. Secondly, you had no real underlings that were menacing. You had the misdirect with Barry Allen.
I was gonna say this needed Batista. We needed to have Batista throwing a hat.
Yeah, well, I mean, you didn't have, like, in the Harry Potter movies, you have like underling players, like characters,
like Beatrice Dominatrix, whatever the hell her name is.
Yeah, that's kind of hot, but her husband's a fucking whack job.
Yes,
but anyway,
Cinema's greatest monster, Tim Robbins, whatever the hell his name is.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, why are you this way, Mark?
Tim Robbins is awesome. But you didn't have like those underling characters that added to the menace.
Mhm.
You just had like red shirts, basically. That just kind of was background filler. You didn't have the other players in the story to like build to his overall menace, and I think that was a miss point in this. And the flip flopping with Barry Allen, you don't really he does it. I'm not a big fan of his anyway. I think he's not a great actor, and I think the character is very underwhelming as well. And the whole subplot really went nowhere. They could have built into that a lot more.
That character, I thought that character died at the end of Fantastic Beasts, and really, I wish he had. And I don't say that to say that I dislike Ezra Miller necessarily. I'm not the biggest fan in the world, but he's not the worst guy I've ever seen on screen. But this character wound up being like, he serves a purpose in the first one. He's not only a giant menace that they have to deal with, he's a tragic figure. This is someone who has been abandoned and abused and doesn't know his own power and is now stuck with the only people who might be able to help him, thinking he's too far gone, he's too powerful. Like, again, he is a tragic figure, and it's what happens to him that kind of spurs Grindelwald to reveal himself at the end. Like, look at what happens to us because of how we have to live. How many more of us is this going to happen to before we decide to do something about it? And it makes sense. How many more children have to suffer because of this? Because we can't be free. And it's a valid point. And sadly, they kept him around for the second one for no real reason. Then for a bizarre reveal at the end that, hey, you're a Dumbledore, yeah, and I'm Rey Skywalker.
I mean, the manipulation thing worked really good in the first one. The second one, it kind of fell flat, and this one, it was like the
utterly
subplot.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, the subplot was really unnecessary, and it was like, hey, we mentioned this in the second one, so we got to shoehorn this into the third, just so he can be drunk in Hawaii and get.
Well, look.
Hang on, Amber. Do you want to weigh in on any of this? You're hearing us three, us three cisgendered angry white men bash your favorite thing. I'm just curious.
Yeah,
you jerks. Here's my take. Go ahead, tell us.
Well, I think the whole point of him being a Dumbledore was because he was obscure. I can't say it right. Obscura.
Mm-hmm.
Or obscuri. And the reason he was an obscure was because Dumbledore and I can't remember his brother's name. The two Dumbledores, their sister was one as well. And you got to think, Credence was losing his power. He has been losing his power this whole time. He's dying. That's why his Phoenix was turning to ash. It's because he's dying. So he's not as powerful. So he's not going to be as big of a threat at this point in this movie because he's pretty much dying. He's losing his power. So, I mean, and I think the reason that, they had the Dumbledore connection in there was because, their sister died. And that was part of Harry Potter. A lot of towards the ends of Deathly Hallows, the whole thing between Albus and his brother is the anger from what happened to their sister.
That they killed.
Being stupid, but she was dying anyways because she was an obscure as well.
All right, Robert. Hang on, we're just getting towards the end of the hour here. So, go ahead and make what point you were trying to make before I interrupted you, but then get to the end of your craft review.
I can see where they were trying to go with the emotional tenor of that, and that's the kind of story that, like, if you want to have that be your B plot, I'm not opposed to it. But 5 scenes over a 2.5-hour film doesn't cut it. This was badly handled. which is a shame because, again, I think there's a degree of emotional resonance there that could have been played off of, and it never happens. It never quite comes together. I think most of this movie falls apart based on the writing. It looks fine. I don't have very many issues with the CGI. The acting's all like you mentioned, no one gives a bad performance here. These are all competent people at a bare minimum. I'm just gonna say this about J.K. Rowling: she's a good to very good novelist. She's not a good screenwriter, and I think at this point we have enough evidence to make that conclusion.
She didn't write the screenplay alone, though.
No, she had help, but given her creative control over this endeavor, I'm imagining she did most of it, or at least had ultimate editorial say over it.
Okay, well, also you have to understand that the person she wrote this also wrote or co-wrote most of the Harry Potter stuff and the other two Fantastic Beasts. So just a couple of things.
They're longtime collaborators, but I think the difference with this and most of the Harry Potter stuff was you can adapt a novel easier than you can write something out of whole cloth. And I just don't think she's a very good screenwriter. And that's fun. That's not to say how dare you're a terrible writer. Screenwriting is a specific talent. Novel writing is a specific talent. There's very few writers, believe it or not, who can do both. I think William Goldman's one of the only ones who I would say had a genuine knack for novel writing and screenwriting. And this is just not something she's very good at. And I think we see a lot of that borne out in the structure, a lot of that borne out in underlying assumptions that are made in the writing that you could fix in a novel format, you cannot fix in a screenplay. So, yeah, I tend to agree with you guys. This is the worst of these three films, which is sad because I thought this one had the potential to be better than Crimes of Grindelwald, if nothing else, because that was kind of a slog too. And boy. Go back and listen to our review of that. We talked about it again, good, bad, and otherwise. We are fair here. This was, before we get to the money, I had mentioned a few weeks ago, a few months actually at this point. I'm not sure how well this is going to do, just because I don't think this particular iteration of this IP has a tremendous amount of legs to it.
Can we talk about that for a second? Just kind of
here's my thought on how this should have gone. And let me phrase it like this. Leave Fantastic Beasts the way it is. Again, I might put Mads there instead of Johnny Depp to begin with because I'm me, but creatively, leave it as it is. It's fine. It's a wonderful return to this IP. People are happy with it. It's a fun, I'm not going to say lighthearted adventure, but it's a break from the false epicness, not even false, but the weightiness that gets into when you get into quasi epic stuff. It's not that heavy. It's fun. It's lighthearted. There's laughs. There's tears. It's a solid story. Leave that. Leave those characters where they are at the end of that movie. They're all fine. We don't need to revisit them. If you want to then tell the story of Grindelwald and Dumbledore, I'm not opposed to that either. This is, again, we're talking about a rich period in human history to draw from. It's a time period in the established canon with all kinds of opportunities for stories to be told. This is a fine story to tell. But Crimes of Grindelwald and this story really needed to be compressed. There's not enough story between those two movies for two movies. So we shrink those down, and we establish our stakes a little bit better, and we introduce new characters. We don't need to keep shoehorning poor Jacob Kowalski into these things. Look, I like the character.
One of the best characters in the whole entire show.
Look, I like the character.
You can't take him out.
Hang on. I like the character. I like the actor. He's a well-written character. He's well acted. He's the heart and soul of most of these movies, and God bless him for it. But you can't give me a legitimate reason he's being dragged around on this other than the author feels it's necessary to have this character.
He is He is the point of view character for the audience.
Well, no,
I'm-
let me point something out. He is a staple in the Harry Potter universe because him and Queenie are the first Muggle wizard couple that starts the half bloodline. That's why he's established in these movies. Is because
That can't be true.
yes, that's the first that's the first half blooded, because when they have a kid,
That might be true for like the American version of the Wizarding World. There's no way that's true of the that. They make a big point of that in Fantastic Beasts. Is no, you Americans are so uncivilized relative to your magic, relative to the Muggles. You don't allow wizards to talk with them or befriend them. Whereas we over in Britain are so much more sophisticated. We don't have any problem. We don't have any laws preventing us from boinking the normies.
we're going to look this up.
Feel free. This
All
is one of those things that annoyed me about that's one of the things that annoyed me about the ending. They established this. They don't do a good job establishing why these two characters getting married is something other than two characters we like who love each other getting together.
Well, I mean, I think it's a metaphor or emblematic of
the word you're looking for is symbolic.
Thank you. Symbolic. Thank you. At least Western cultures struggle with mixed marriages. Like as the X-Men were a metaphor, a symbol for homosexuality and coming out, so too is a lot of this a symbol or metaphor for
the X-Men were much more about the civil rights than they were about homosexuality. I'm just saying. Well, okay, hang on. In fairness to your point, like depending on which era of X-Men we're talking.
Yeah, I was gonna say almost everyone in modern comics now sees the X-Men as being a symbol for of closeted homosexuality.
Never mind that the original characters were expressly designed to replicate the civil rights movement, right down to Xavier referencing being an analog for Martin Luther King, whereas Magneto's an analog for Malcolm X.
We can have Chris Bailey and Pat here to put the
look. Anyone else, feel free to discuss this ad nauseum. I'm not saying there's no discussion about that.
My point is they were clearly using the Wizarding World to address some of this discomfort with things like mixed marriages. They're clearly speaking about that. I just want to say this before this goes any further and Jason figures out what it is he's looking for. Let me say something about this whole Fantastic Beasts thing. You talked about, I don't know if this is going to do very well, and we're about to discuss that within a few minutes. The thing that I always thought was attractive about the Harry Potter franchise, and Amber, I'm curious to see what you think about this, was that it was a child's power fantasy. Children are always looking for power fantasies, whether it be Superman or Harry Potter or something. It's something that something that you can look to and say, gosh, I wish as a child I could do fantastic and wonderful things, and I had all these strengths and abilities that I see in our modern mythology, whether it be comic books, science fiction, fantasy, whatever. And we went on that ride, and Harry Potter is one of the most successful franchises in both literature and film history. Now, again, that's because it appeals to both children and adults, but it has children as the focus. And I almost wonder if they missed the point with Fantastic Beasts, as if to say, again, kind of like The Hobbit, where we need to go back to this world because this world made us a lot of money. Well, what are you going to do with it? We're going to do XYZ. We're going to explore Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and we're going to look at the early days of Voldemort, and it's going to be fantastic. Is that really what people want? Do people want, a Harry Potter world without the Harry Potter part of it? Because I feel like they don't. I feel like the vast majority of people wanted more Harry, and going back and doing a prequel absent the children and the children's power fantasy robs people of the one thing that really hooked them in the first place. What do you think, Amber?
I don't agree.
Okay.
The point is, it's the Wizarding World.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people don't go to Universal and spend thousands of dollars to see the Wizarding World because of Harry Potter. It's not, yes, it was to an extent, but it's the entire fantasy of this whole world that's been created, and it takes you out of where you're at in our very the struggle and the craziness going on in our world and puts you in this fantasy, regardless of whether it's Harry or Newt or Jacob or Queenie or whatever. It takes you out of your world and puts you in this world, and that's why I like them so much. And I'll watch Fantastic Beasts as much as I'll watch Harry Potter. I want the whole world, not just Harry Potter and Hermione and Harry and
so if we're talking about why these things aren't struggling, go ahead. Hang on 1 second, because I think I'm setting you up here.
Okay.
If you're talking about, I'm contesting, or rather, I'm purporting that these Fantastic Beasts don't do nearly as well as the Harry Potter proper series, is because you're missing the child element. Because I'm not disagreeing with your point, Amber, which is no. People want to live in that universe. This is the Avatar argument. Why did people go see Avatar 9 billion times and make it the most successful movie in film history? Not counting for inflation, Gone with the Wind. Because people want to
or
live
any number of other movies that actually beat it if we adjust for inflation.
Sure. Because people wanted to live in that world. They wanted to escape their own reality and live in the Avatar world. And people kept going back to re-experience it, that sort of thing. What I'm getting at here is, well, I agree with you that I think the universe that they created is a place people want to live. And that is a license to sell product to these people and create events and happenings for people to live in briefly. That's all well and good. But we still have the central argument over, but then why aren't these movies resonating and doing as well as the Harry Potter franchise proper, Robert?
Well, yeah, you did set me up, but I don't think it was necessary. I'm going to answer that question.
It's always necessary.
Fantastic Beasts was it was a nice addition to the overall IP because it was an expansion on the world. It was, hey, here's a look at magic in set aside the time period. The time period's somewhat immaterial here. It's nice, but it's not necessary. Here's what the wizarding world looks like in a different country, because up until now it's been exclusively British. So what's it look like in America? And here's a slightly quirky character whose life is built around magical creatures that people are curious, that the audience is curious about because they are wonderful and magical. That's an invitation to not only re-enter the world, but to then expand upon it. And I think that's why that movie resonated the way it did. So if the question then becomes, well, why didn't Crimes of Grindelwald, or why isn't Secrets of Dumbledore? Well, let's then ask the logical question: what does this expand on in the world? The answer is nothing. This doesn't add anything. There is nothing here that draws you back to this world in a meaningful way. There's nothing here. There's nothing here new.
Would you say this is akin to the Star Trek issue with the Kobayashi Maru, where this was much better when it was in our imagination of what it could be than when we actually saw it captured on film and botched?
Yeah, a little bit. This is, again, if you want to go back into this world, you can, but look at what we're doing all of a sudden in this movie. If you want to tell political intrigue, you can, but where's the magic? It's nowhere. Yeah,
that was one of the things I wanted to say. Now that you mentioned it, pinged my memory of this. This felt very Star Wars-y, in which every 15 to 20 minutes we have to have a lightsaber fight because the kids like lightsabers.
Yeah,
it drove me fucking crazy because as much as people might have been passively enjoying it, it very much felt to me like they had, like we've gone 20 minutes of a lot of talking and dialogue. Like I was doing the alternative commentary of Ben-Hur with my son. We both just kept looking at each other going,
okay, hang on. Which version?
2016.
Oh, why? That's child abuse. Why?
we were just looking at each other like, isn't anyone going to have a chariot race? Isn't anyone going to throw a pie? Let's just talking and talking and talking. And then when like the last 20 minutes is the chariot race. That we waited 2 hours for this. My point being,
okay.
like,
for the record, the remake of Ben-Hur that he's referencing is one of the worst movies ever made. It is awful. Watch the original. Watch Charlton Heston. That's a really
My
good movie.
son almost noped out of the podcast halfway through. He was like, "What are we doing here? I'd rather be bored at Easter with my grandparents." Jason, have you found the porn that you were looking for? Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Rappaport's law prevents non-magic people marrying wizarding into the wizarding community. They were the first couple.
Okay, and I'm just gonna say this again. I accept that that's true of the United States.
No, it's confirmed by J.K. Rowling's that they were the first couple.
That
Okay,
is some
is there
serious. Okay, that is some revisionist bull.
Is there any possible way we can move this on? Just
Well,
one.
okay. I'm just saying. I find it unbelievably impossible to believe that this smaller community, over the entirety of its existence, waited until the 1930s. Like, there's just no way.
Well, I mean, as the United States, we waited till the 1960s before, women.
Yeah, but the United
States, they were in their 50s. So
yeah, but the United States hadn't existed until the 1700s.
I'm still talking about 200 years.
Sure, but
All right. Is there, Amber, any final thoughts as far as the craft review? Because we've been at this an hour now, and it's time to bring the story to a close.
Just, I think you're all very critical of it. But, I mean,
Hey, welcome to the fucking show.
but I will always love it. I felt it was good. We need to talk about my favorite part is the crabs. That was my favorite part of the entire movie. I thought that was hilarious.
I want to see Robert do the crab dance.
I'm not doing the crab dance.
I want to see Robert do the crab dance.
Come on.
Get
You
used
gotta
to
move your
disappointment.
hips.
Okay, new bet, Mark. If I'm right about Mortal Kombat, Robert does the crab dance on a podcast.
You do not
Okay.
get to make that bet relative to me.
Okay, hang on. If the Miz gets cast as Johnny Cage,
Yes.
okay, got it.
I'm
If
not
you-
making
if-
that bet.
If no one,
Kinda
Yeah,
wouldn't
you are.
surprise me.
no one's interested in what you
I
think.
don't know if I'd
Listen,
make that bet either.
And it
Yeah,
implied consent.
Yep, exactly. If the Miz gets cast as Johnny Cage, Robert has to do the crab dance live on Damn You Hollywood.
Okay, for the record, if the Miz is cast as Johnny Cage, I'm not reviewing the movie. Just so
That's
you know.
fine. Hang on. We can make layers to this bet. If the Miz is Johnny Cage in the next Mortal Kombat movie, I will just review it with Jason and make a lot of dick jokes. But you have to come on and do the crab dance, give us the finger, and walk off again.
No.
Okay. Okay, you're doing it. Anyway, moving on.
I'll do half of that. You can guess which half.
Loki.
Jason, fight. So Loki. Jason, your final thoughts, and let's move on.
I liked it.
No
I
shit.
think that the controversy, and this is kind of a segue for you, Mark. The controversy kind of marred the box office returns, I believe.
Oh, you're talking about J.K. Rowling and her anti-trans thing.
Well, the Johnny Depp thing, the Ezra Miller thing. I mean, this was snake bit on multiple levels.
Why, do you really think people gave that much of a shit?
About the Johnny Depp thing? Yeah, because
To the point where they're boycotting the movie?
Have you ever been on TikTok lately? Have you been on the news? Like that whole trial is going on right now.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're like,
whoa.
like people are
Don't doubt my
pissed off
TikTok
about
game,
this.
Amber. Okay, my TikTok game is tight. I'll send
I
you
mean,
TikToks. Are you
They've
on TikTok?
got like
Wait, are you on TikTok? Who are
Yeah.
you on TikTok? I'm gonna start sending you shit.
Don't send my wife shit on TikTok.
I'm about to send your wife shit on TikTok. What's your name on TikTok, Amber?
that's what I'm looking for.
God damn it.
Hold on.
She's gonna put it live on air.
Yep.
AET 1981.
AET. What was it?
1981.
1981. There you are.
Well, look, just to the larger point there, I think you're right that this had a lot of things against it.
It's hard for me to believe that the Johnny Depp thing really depressed people from going.
Okay, well, hang on. I don't think there's any one thing that is there's no one issue here.
Yeah,
We're
I think it
dealing
was
with
a culmination of everything.
Yeah.
This isn't you could take away one of these problems and you'd still have a depressed return. This is an accumulation of a lot of things.
Okay. Let's put a peg in that because we can double back to it when we officially get into the money. I think
Well,
the
last thing about this movie that is a bit
about the music.
disappointing. The music is disappointing.
Yeah, so I'd like to talk about the music if you let me.
I'm trying to set you up here.
Oh, sorry.
Mark, tell us about the music.
No. Robert's doing a setup. Go ahead. Bump the volleyball.
So, again, I couldn't say this about the previous two movies, believe it or not. I thought the music in Fantastic Beasts was pretty darn good. And we're dealing with an established composer here in James Newton Howard. But boy, is the music for this one utterly unremarkable, distinctly unmemorable, and kind of a letdown, which is a shame considering the music is such an integral part of so many of these movies and what leads them to success. And if you want to know other things that James Newton Howard is capable of, he has a very impressive discography overall. And Mark, I'm sure you know at least 2 different places where you could find all of these things, and one of them might be a sponsor.
I do, Robert Winfree. We are, in fact, giving away a free 30-day trial of the Amazon Music Unlimited service where you can find this composer's great works. If you go to our link here in the description of this podcast at getamazonmusic.com/W2M network, again, that's getamazonmusic.com/W2M network for your free 30-day trial of the Amazon Music Unlimited service. Please fill out and the sign-up process, agree to the 30 days, and stream all you want. Stream to your heart's consent. Have a soundtrack for life. Have a soundtrack for when you go running in the middle of the night. And then we come home and then wake up all your children and your family.
I used to do that.
I'm going to do it as soon as this podcast is over.
Are you going to sing Bacon and Cornbread?
Yeah, I'm actually not going to run, Jason. I'm going to pimp walk around my neighborhood with my wide brim hat.
There you go. With your wide brim hat.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
City Walk, here we come.
The problem is the second song on that playlist is Biscuits and Gravy.
All right. So, yes, getamazonmusic.com/W2M network. And with that, here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
Gets me every time. All right. With a budget of Marvel money at $200 million, we are currently...
At least, bearing in mind this thing's production was delayed at least once, pretty significantly. Non-trivial chance it's higher than that.
Yeah. I think I'm looking at filming. Principal photography was scheduled to begin March 16th, 2020, but unnamed virus of unknown origin.
Yeah.
The Kung flu.
The unspecified virus of unknown origin happened to hit right around then.
Jason, behave yourself. There are people who listen that don't appreciate the Kung flu reference. Okay. Moving on. At a $200 million Marvel budget, this thing has made, at the time of this recording, which is the Tuesday after, $196.5 million over the Easter and Good Friday weekend, which is a pretty nice take. I would imagine, yeah, it's going to be profitable, but these things are, we talked about this with like the DC movies. These things are designed to do $1 billion.
Or thereabouts, and this is probably going to struggle to hit the $500 million mark.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second. But here's how the weekend that was. The April from the 15th to the 17th is what we're looking at. It debuted at number 1, no shock there. It knocked Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Hey, Sonic had a good hold. It dropped less than 60% from its opening weekend. That's a good hold.
It's a great movie, and it's and I'm realizing now just how popular Sonic is with even kids of today. Like it had, when you think about Sonic was something that was around in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, that's when he came out.
And it has made generations of fans over the decades that it's been in existence, and still has young fans and old fans today.
Did you watch the video I sent you?
I have not. The Lost City.
Why do I bother?
Though I'm busy.
Look, that's not me saying you're a terrible person. That's me saying I understand you're busy.
Okay.
And consequently, I should not send you things.
You can send me you can send me things. I will watch them in my less busy times. The Lost City stayed at number 3. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, which I've heard is fantastic. I think had its wide release finally. Because it went up 970 theaters.
It's in a theater. It's in one of my local theaters, and I live.
So I'm waiting for that to go PVOD so we can review it with After Yang. That jumped from 6 to 4. Father Stew, which Pat saw over the weekend allegedly, debuted at number 5.
Of course he did.
Morbius. Let's all hold hands and take this trip together. Oh, you're an embarrassment to film, Sony.
The Sony executives are the toys at the end of Toy Story 3, facing down the incinerator, just holding hands and praying that the Marvel claw bails them out.
Good God, Morbius.
Should have fallen further.
Speaking of bombs, ambulance fell from 4 to 7. The Batman, Warner Brothers' big exciting press release of the weekend. Hey, the Batman crossed 750 million. Yes, but what about your new movie, The Secrets of Dumbledore? What now? What the press release said.
Warner Brothers did not look, for all the other issues this movie had. Warner Brothers did not do a great job in the marketing of this thing. That also needs to be said.
So Batman fell from 5 to 8.
It's going to drop a lot further. It's now available on HBO Max.
It certainly is, Ollie. So I think it's.
And you owe me at least one shiny nickel.
I do. I thought it was going to make $1 billion, and it petered out. Which goes to show you, if you're trying to make a movie, unless it's Endgame, if you want a movie to make $1 billion, you got to do it in less than 3 hours. It has to have high turnover rate in the theater. I think that's the biggest part of what killed this Batman, to be honest.
It also helps to have
30 freaking minutes of previews.
Yeah.
It definitely helps. It also helps to have a movie that has rewatch value. And I'm not so sure the Batman has a tremendous amount of it, as further borne out by the box office returns.
Yep. Something called KGF Chapter 2 debuted at number 9. It was only a foreign gross there from Viva Pictures. Uncharted fell from 7 to 10. And rounding out the top 20 are Spider-Man, still making money in the theaters, even though I think it's PVOD now. Dog at number 12. X, the horror movie about the porn shoot that Sean and I will be reviewing in the future.
So the documentary.
Yes.
No, it's a documentary of DMX. X going to give it to you.
I hope. Duel debuted at number 4.
You now turned it into a zombie movie, so good job.
Sing 2 at number 15. Selena was re-released for some strange reason.
Because Jennifer Lopez.
At number 16, Waterman 17, Mothering Sunday 18, Paris 13th District from IFC Films debuted at 19, and rounding out the top 20 is Death on the Boredom. Also debuting this weekend, we're all going to the World's Fair at number 23, The Tale of Robert's Dancing, that's The Tale of King Crab at 29.
Crab Dance.
And that is the weekend that was. Where we stand worldwide, no shock here. The number 1 movie in the world, and still didn't meet its projected earnings. The Batman.
Hey, this thing barely crossed the $750 million mark, which, to be clear, relative to its budget, is a success. It is a financially successful movie.
Here's what I'm going to tell you: its foreign take is not what it should have been. I think it made less than fucking Warcraft.
Yeah, it didn't do very good.
It's a very American film, and I think that I have a bit of I don't have the time or the inclination at the moment to go through this, but I do wonder about the foreign appeal of Batman as an IP, just as a thought.
That would be an interesting thought exercise and discussion for a different podcast. Maybe go on Jeff Sloboda's MCU's Burning Desires, Bleeding Edge. That's what it's called, and you can have that conversation with him. I think he has a new guest host every Friday night. You should pitch it to him, Robert.
Mark,
go spread your wings.
Mark,
hang on. Let me look at you. Yes, my love.
You've been on that particular podcast, have you not?
Many times. So is Jesse.
How do you think that would go?
Awesome. It would be wildly entertaining for me.
Yeah.
I would enjoy it.
Robert just blinked help. Anyway, let's move on.
No, that's not help.
Get the tables. Watergate Bridge at number 2. Uncharted petering out at 389 million. Sonic the Hedgehog currently at 235. Too Cool to Kill, 217.
Hang on, idle curiosity. Do we know when Sonic is going to wind up on digital? And which platform?
Well, I think everybody at this point has migrated to the 45-day window.
I imagine. So, okay. Do you know then where it's going to wind up?
What was Sonic? Was Sonic Sony? No. Yes, maybe.
That or Paramount.
I think it might have been Paramount. If it's Paramount, it's going to go to it goes to Paramount Plus,
which is a moderately more of a streaming service than Peacock.
Okay, moving
It
on.
is expected to go to Paramount Plus.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you, Amber.
It's still a lesser streaming service, so okay.
All right. Too Cool to Kill at number 5. Nice View at number 6. Fantastic Beast landing on the board at number 7. Unless it makes significantly more money, it's not staying in the top 10 with everything coming up over the summer. Morbius,
it'll climb a bit before it's done, but I would be surprised if it does stick around in the top 10 by the time the year is over.
Real quick, Doctor Strange, May 6th. Doctor Strange, May 6th. Top Gun Maverick, May 27th. Not all of these are going to be winners. Jurassic World, there we go. Jurassic World, June 10th. Lightyear, June 17th. I don't think Elvis with the Black Phone is going to be a big deal, but Minions, The Rise of $1 Billion will be July 1st.
You keep saying that, and I keep saying I will take most of those bets, and I will rob you blind.
Thor, Love and Thunder, and then by that point the summer's over.
Okay, can I just say?
I'm just saying a lot of those are going to be taking spots in the top 10 is my only point.
They are. You're entirely correct, and I think this probably will end outside the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw a trailer for the Jurassic World movie.
Yeah.
In front of this.
Yep.
I'm so excited about that movie. I have no idea.
I
love that flippant. I love that they brought him
That's
back.
going to be the next time you're on the show, Amber.
I wanted to burn down the theater.
That's right. Amber is going to be on the Jurassic World one. Oh, I can't wait for this.
I love Jurassic Park
just as much as I do Harry Potter, probably.
I love Jurassic Park. I really do. I was a dinosaur enthusiast when I was a small child when it came out. I have vivid memories of that movie. I went to go see it when it re-released in 3D because I love it that much. The Jurassic World trilogy has been a cheap, nostalgia-riddled con job.
Let me go ahead and say this without getting into an argument with you about a movie we're not reviewing currently. I love Jurassic World. We reviewed it. I said it at the time. It is exactly what I wanted from a Jurassic Park movie. I wanted dinosaurs to tear apart a working, breathing, living theme park, and that's what I got. I did not need to see any more of those characters or this idea. Like, you gave me my Jaws 3 with dinosaurs. I'm happy. Go away now. And they were like, no, $1 billion.
No, here's Fallen Kingdom, one of the worst written movies you will ever find. It's a nonsense riddled.
What is Jurassic Park but a haunted house?
Which we don't even get to for like half the movie.
Yeah.
Oh God, and this is going to be, hey, remember all those characters you used to like? Let's just piss all over them.
All right, let's move this on.
Oh, and the Thor Love and Thunder trailer.
Don't.
Oh, okay, no, not that. I've got a genuine bold prediction here. I think you might fit in.
You don't think Thor's going to do $1 billion?
This has nothing to do with Thor.
Okay.
I don't think I can be objective enough about that to make a legitimate prediction at the moment, so I'm going to sit on that.
I agree with you.
I think Maverick's going to bomb.
I don't know.
I can see that. I can see it.
I have only anecdotal evidence to support my current theory. I work with a bunch of cops. All the cops are excited for Top Gun Maverick, and if cops are excited, I bet firefighters are excited. And if firefighters are excited, I bet construction workers are excited. I bet men with penises, men with hairy chests, and pecs, and abs,
hang on,
and dad bods are all excited for Top Gun Maverick.
Let me fully make my case here.
About men with penises?
I think it's going to have a good opening week.
Uh-huh.
I really do. I don't think it has legs.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to spend most of this movie making Maverick look weak.
Probably. So that we can elevate Miles Teller.
It has Miles Teller, which is the kiss of death. Nothing
Jason,
with Miles Teller is any good.
Jason,
I
don't know
don't
what...
need Miles Teller to be Goose's son for your crappy wannabe drama attached to what should be something entirely different. Miles Teller's been part of the worst things I've ever watched. He is the common
does
denominator.
that include Refn?
It does.
Jason, you keep
Dude,
trying to...
I watched the four.
Shut up for a second, Jason.
I'm excited for Maverick because I'll be on that show.
Oh my God.
I have a whole bottle of special lotion for myself after I watch the show that I lather myself up with.
Are we gonna be just
Then you
are we
go play
gonna be
volleyball on the
pantsless
beach.
on that show, Jason?
I will probably be pantsless in a thong, maybe.
Okay. Just want to know what the dress code is.
Banana hammock.
We're gonna Dennis Hallman this shit. If you do it, I'll do it. I will absolutely.
No one gets that reference but me, Mark.
I don't get Dennis Hallman. Everybody, wasn't there a more recent podcast where I actually put up a picture of him? I know on some show I did this recently. I did that bit where I referenced Dennis Hallman and I had to put up a picture of him. Might have been one Andrew was on. Because I remember him laughing at it. Anyway,
well, he would get the joke.
Yeah, he would. So yeah, just looking at the calendar, next week, this week coming up is The Northman, The Bad Guys.
I'm excited about The Northman. I can't wait to watch that.
The Northman looks fucking mint, as all the white boys would say. But yeah, this week is The Bad Guys, The Northman, and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is the Nick Cage playing Nick Cage movie.
That actually looks so fun.
I think the Nick Cage movie or The Bad Guys ends up being the #1 movie of the weekend, knocking Fantastic Beasts out. And then there's nothing the 29th of any value to my recollection. And then she turned on the buzzsaw is Doctor Strange. Firestarter's a non-starter. That's going to be day and date on Peacock. I stumbled over this because
For the last time, Peacock's not a streaming service.
I stumbled over this because I was looking at I think Downton Abbey, which tickets are on sale for that now. I guess they're expecting a big crowd for this. I think it'll win its weekend. I don't know how much Downton Abbey cuts into the Fantastic Beasts crowd. And then Top Gun Maverick comes out on the 27th, along with Bob's Burgers, the movie. So by the time we get to the end of May, Fantastic Beasts probably clocks in at about 500 million. I think 500 or 600 million.
It's going to struggle to get there, but I think it probably does cross that particular line.
Yeah. All right, that is the money. Let us move on to the next segment here, the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
The critical review is brought to you by Grammarly. For you listeners of Damn You Hollywood, Grammarly is offering a free download of the Grammarly software. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail.
Finish your ad read.
Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M network. Again, that's grammarly.com/W2M network to download Grammarly for free. Yes, sir.
Just trending on Twitter.
Yes.
Ezra Miller has been arrested for alleged second-degree assault in Hawaii weeks after he was arrested for alleged disorderly conduct and harassment.
Yeah,
he and BJ Penn have got to stop hanging out together.
My understanding is that I saw the Ezra Miller thing break earlier today, as a matter of fact. You guys said it before. This movie's a little on the snake bit side, but again, the cat's out of the bag. It's already in the theaters. Like, how many people are like, oh my God, he got arrested? Well, I'm not seeing it now. I can't. That feels like a disconnect to me.
Well, again, this one will be. The previous one, I think contributed. All
right, fantastic piece of Secrets of Dumbledore. The critics hated it. The crowds seemed to be like Amber and just thought it was a dandy movie. Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore avoids some of the pitfalls that plagued its predecessor, but lacks much of the magic that drew audiences into the Wizarding world. many movies ago, which is what I said. The critics came at it at 48%.
I think we had a disagreement about what that particular magic was, but.
And then the audience score was 85%. All right, Amber, this is fun. Are you ready to have fun?
Yeah.
Okay. So Amber, should I read the rotten reviews or should I read the fresh reviews? Which one do you think have a more likely chance of driving Robert into apoplexy?
Probably the fresh ones.
Okay.
But we just find all the top critics. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
These idiots.
All right. So top critics that are also fresh here. Or do you just want me to do just top critics just down the line?
Let's just start with the top critics and whether or not they said splatter.
All right, fair enough. Tim Cogshell of Film Week, KPCC, CCC, ADD, D minor, F, G, 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 G7. Sing it with me, Jason.
Stop.
What's that playing on the radio? NPR, Los Angeles, top critic. To my mind, such as it is, the movie needs to be entertaining on its own. These movies are not. They're displays of wizardry, if you forgive the pun.
Yeah, I'm not going to forgive that pun. You work for NPR.
Can we punch him in the face?
Hang on. He's got a little bit of a point in the following way. One of the downsides to serialized film is if you've missed any of them, how much am I going to struggle to catch up and follow? And if you're making trilogies or quadrilogies or what have you, this is something you have to keep in mind. There's a degree to which the films need to stand on their own, somewhat absent what came before them. And it's a tricky balance to strike, and I don't think this movie nails that particular balance. But if your argument is these movies are, shallow and hollow and just, hey, technical wizardry, get bent.
All right, go ahead, Jason.
Can I pick one for you to read?
You can. But can I do my bit here first, and then you can tell me what the next one is?
Okay.
Okay.
We got two of them right next to each other.
I bet it's the one I was going to pick.
Yeah, I think you know where I'm going with this. But first, yet another person from Robert's family, his uncle, James Berardinelli, for Real Views, spelled R-E-E-L. Do you get it, Amber? Do you get it? Real? R-E-E-L? Real? Do you get it? Top critic. It's time to bid farewell to Dumbledore and his associates, students, protégés, and enemies.
I can't say cuss words on here.
Please.
No, I've cursed at least 3 times. You're fine.
You're married to me.
Can we just do this? F you.
Yeah.
Whoever you are.
Buddy,
okay.
You do not
input. Go on, move on to something else. We don't like this guy, whoever his name is. Jay.
Amongst the imagined family that Mark has constructed for me of film critics, even this jackass is the black sheep. Like, who the hell are you to speak for the masses, sir? No. Moreover, there's plenty of good stories to be told here. You can criticize this film while also acknowledging that the IP itself is still rich and fertile ground for anything like this. But no, this guy's tired of Harry Potter movies. Therefore, we must bid farewell to all things that bring joy to people to service his particular ego. Even I'm not that self-centered, and I yell about a bunch of these movies, but I'm not in denial or in any way confused about why they're successful.
All right, next one. Okay, Jason, you said you wanted me to do one, so just tell me which one you want me to do.
I want you to do Robert's estranged uncle, Kevin Carr.
No, that's not his estranged uncle. That's the fat ass we bully on this show. This is the nerd I shove into a locker each and every week. And I'm fucking glad you pointed that out, Jason, because that is the one I was going to read next. This fucking asshole, Kevin Carr, a fat guy at the movies with his brilliant point, says, this one has more of a plot than the other 2 films, and that's a huge plus. And I can see Russia from my house.
Okay. Of all the things you could have said about this movie, it does not have more of a plot than Fantastic Beasts. It just doesn't. That's got a much more concise plot.
Kevin
much more
Carr is a
streamlined one.
human traumatic brain injury. All right.
This
I don't know
this
his
guy.
words.
This guy had a brain transplant and someone lost the organ and just put a brick in there. Jesus,
Oh.
Mary and Joseph.
So what was the brain you got for me again, Igor?
Ab-
That's
Abby-
not
Abby
that's not
Normal?
Hans Delbruck's brain, is it? So whose
Normal?
brain did I put in there? Abby someone. Abby normal. Telling me I put an abnormal brain into a 7-foot-tall, 500-pound gorilla? Is that what you're telling me?
You good? Thanks.
Look,
Robert
My
Robert
grandfather.
Yes, you're Robert's grandfather. Joe
Not my grandfather.
fighting Joe Morgenstern.
Fight. This guy runs the other way from heavy traffic, and you're trying to give him a fight.
Punchy Joe Morgenstern of the Wall Street Journal says,
Oh,
top
God.
critic.
I like Glass Joe.
Glass Joe Morgan.
There we go.
Okay, I'm keeping
That's
that
it.
one. Robert's
Oh.
grandfather, Glass Joe Morgenstern of the Wall Street Journal says, see, Amber, we're having fun. We're supposed to be witnessing an epic battle between good and evil, but it's a contest between energy and entropy carries the dreary day.
I get what he's trying to say here. And unfortunately, you're trying to unfairly extrapolate a point about the movie into a point about the way the film is put together. And it's just a little bit weak. And just as another point, energy and entropy, I'm not sure those are the terms I would have used here. And I'm not entirely certain that those are the best opposites in the conception of physics that you could have pulled together.
Alison Wilmore of New York Magazine Vulture, top critic.
That terrible publication.
No one
Robert's love
involved.
interest.
No. Don't take
Mark
away
has
from me.
Mark has hooked me up already.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I have him promised. I have Robert betrothed to Lola Lamb Chops for a tract of land. So, and peace between our kingdoms. So don't you get involved in that.
No. It's not worth that much. We both know she came to you as the matchmaker and you said, "Oh, how petty can I be?"
I have this troll that I keep in the basement since 2012. You want him?
At which point they pray for the Nazi Germans to invade and spare them from it. So now we've dovetailed into Fiddler on the Roof.
Yes. If I were a rich man. No one involved in these movies seems to have any idea what their appeal is supposed to be.
Oh, get bent. That's a ridiculous statement to try and make about these. Like, of all the things you could have said negatively about this film, pretending that everyone involved doesn't understand these movies. Like, I've got issues of execution. That doesn't mean that the people involved don't understand it. It means there were issues. That's not the same thing as coming from a place of pure ignorance, unlike your review, which does.
Matt Conway of Battle Royale with Cheese.
Gotta have
Oh,
the cheese.
gosh.
That's a real thing, Amber. Battle Royale with Cheese. I read this quite often.
He does this because Mark desperately wants to be on Rotten Tomatoes, and he looks at a bunch of these people and goes, "How?"
Yeah, why has God forsaken me? Speaking of which, the Secrets of Dumbledore succumbs to the errors of its predecessors.
That's not very
Get bent.
helpful.
What'd you say, Amber?
Get bent.
Hey, speaking of get bent, Doug Walker of Channel Awesome.
Oh, here we go.
Here's a guy besides Cody Rhodes who just has a neck for punching. If you don't like Fantastic Beasts in your Fantastic Beasts movie, then this is the film for you. I hope your brother sodomizes you with an iron, Doug Walker.
Oh my God.
Christ
Mark,
almighty.
You have frequently told me to stop threatening people.
I didn't threaten him. I'm
No,
saying
you
I
just.
hope...
Okay, so me saying
He's
I
hoping
hope
his
someone.
brother threatens him.
So me saying I hope someone goes and plays in traffic, and
Uh-huh.
you saying
I hope his brother sexually assaults him. I mean, I can't help what his brother does. I'm
right.
not in charge of how his brother behaves.
Hold on.
Can you confirm or deny his brother isn't capable of sexually assaulting his other brother?
Hang on, just for
Yes.
the record.
Uh-huh.
There's no way he has siblings. This guy reeks of only child.
I think critics in themselves are probably people who don't have any, brothers.
I've got 3 brothers.
I was gonna say. All right, a couple more of these, and then we'll.
David Fear. Read David Fear because I want to see Amber's head explode.
You got it. So we'll do this one, and then we'll do Amy Nicholson because I hate her too. David Fear of Rolling Stone, that vaunted magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
So what does this have to do with music again?
We served with Harry Potter. We knew Harry Potter. He was a friend of ours, Robert Winfree. And you, Newt Scamander, are no Harry Potter.
I mean, oh my gosh. I just want to rip through this picture here and
Do you see why we do this bit now, Amber?
I hate that guy.
She's putting her hair. She's like trying to fight him.
Another
She's putting her hair up like she's going to fight him.
Feel free to
wonderful,
go on
another
Twitter.
successful convert.
He's got a Newt Scamander's my favorite freaking character. Kiss my ass. Go away. We don't need your 2 cents.
And for the record, buddy, if you are incapable of moving on from one main character to another, the MCU is about to be hell for you, I imagine. I knew Tony Stark. I served with Tony Stark. And you, Riri Williams, are no Tony Stark. Which is true.
Amy Nicholson, who's that annoying girl that hangs out with a bunch of nerds who think she's cool, from the New York Times, top critic.
The former newspaper.
Amy Nicholson, the kind of girl who they like to have her around because who doesn't like a set of boobs, but everyone secretly wants to punch her right in said boobs. Amy, Jason, you're not going to be allowed to play with me anymore after this, are you? your wife's going to forbid me from playing with you.
Hey now,
Nah.
as long as you bring the Jergens.
Speaking of Jergens, Amy Nicholson of New York Times, top critic.
And her what I assume is very dry skin around the elbows and back of the neck.
An alternate subtitle could be Totalitarianism for Tykes.
Wow, this movie says fascism is bad. Consequently, I think it's good, regardless of all of its craft flaws, because I understand this proper. When people complain about virtue signaling, this is the shit they mean. This is what they mean. This has nothing to do with contemporary politics. There's a very clear parallel between Grindelwald and Hitler. Sure. That's been evident from the very first time it was discussed in the books that Grindelwald existed, was German, and came to power in the 1930s. There's no mystery here. You didn't stumble on some great truth.
That's an incomplete sentence. Everything you just said, you dumb bitch.
You are welcome to add that addendum if you feel so inclined. Tell you what, I will end my next response in an ellipses, and you can finish it.
All right, and that's
no. He really wanted to say, "See you next Tuesday."
And when I say "you dumb bitch," that's our sign that this show is now over.
You know what? People the New York Times used to be a publication that held respect. Esteem.
That was 100 years ago.
It was the gold standard of journalism and integrity. And now it's a former newspaper populated by Knucklehead Row. Like, you idiots.
Yeah. Well, Amber, did you have a great time in our little circle here?
Very much a lot of fun.
I'm glad. We're excited to have you back in a few months to watch Robert cry about the Jurassic Park franchise. While you sit there and say, it was wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. Dinosaurs, yay. And Robert shoots himself on camera.
I will not. That franchise at this point in time does not even deserve my protest suicide.
Perfect. Well, when we find one that does, let me know so I can make sure I live stream it. Amber.
Yes.
I hear you do a podcast. We talked about it almost an hour and 40 minutes ago. Please do your plugs, where they can find you and all of that.
You can find me on Twitter at Amber Teasley1, and our podcast is Home is Where Homework Is. You can find it on the Chair Shot Network, and I co-host with my friend Liz.
Liz, who is a frequent player and guest, not guest, but she likes to come to our wrestling live stream. She has a lot of fun with us, so we enjoy Liz. Liz is great. Liz can't make it to a podcast I've invited her to save her life, but we enjoy her when she shows up in the comments for the live stream. So, Liz is 50-50 with me. But I do enjoy your Home is Where the Hallmark Show is. I've listened to many of those episodes.
Don't lie.
He's not lying.
No, I have absolutely listened. I've absolutely listened to them. I mean, they're not us. We're fucking awesome. But you guys are fine. Your little podcast.
You've done more than I have because I've never listened to them.
Nice.
And I'm married to her.
Well, I don't listen to yours either. I hear enough of you.
See, that's right.
Anyway,
this is the problem with trying to get family to listen to your podcast. They hear you all the time anyway. They've heard these. They've heard these arguments. They've heard these discussions. They don't care. Which means you have to now try and get strangers to, and that's just the worst.
Well, just do what I do. Just grab people's phones while you're at work and sign them up for the podcast and throw it back at them in disgust.
But then how many of them have to have those cell phones confiscated because you gave them to inmates?
None of them. I don't give away contraband. Anyway,
that face for the audio only listeners. Mark made a very distinctive face after he said that.
I have a very distinctive face, and more importantly, I have a very sexy voice. The ladies tell me here in the Tampa Bay area. Anyway, speaking of purring, thank you for coming on, Amber. We certainly enjoyed you here, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you for having me. And Hedwig.
Perfect. Hey, Jason, I hear you do fantasy football.
No, not anymore.
Oh my God.
No.
Okay.
No.
How about fantasy baseball since that season finally got started?
Yeah, I'm actually doing my first fantasy baseball season. I'm sucking at it. But hey, it's baseball. They needed somebody. Shout out to Evan Bevins. But yeah, you catch me and Ty doing the cheap seats. Right now, we are currently working our way through an actual 2-round mock draft in preparation of the NFL draft that will happen next week. So this show will drop by then.
So who do you have the Jaguars taking?
The Jaguars?
Jaguars, then, if you prefer.
Jaguars with the number 1 overall pick?
Yeah.
Or
do they trade the number 1 overall pick because they're the Jacksonville Jaguars? And that's
I haven't taken, because I actually picked for them. I haven't taken Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan.
Okay.
Hey, well, what's the next thing you're on, actually?
Here would be Maverick, I believe, is the next show that I'm on here.
Yes, I had to switch the date for that because we're going glamping the weekend that comes out, so we're going to delay that a week. We will be reviewing it June 7th. Right here, I got your list right here. So, you can follow Jason here June 7th on Top Gun Maverick. June 14th with his lovely wife for Jurassic World Dominion. Jason and I are going to be reviewing the HBO miniseries on the 23rd, Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers. Because Jason insisted on it, we will be reviewing The Black Phone June 28th.
Jason, looking forward to that one.
Jason threw himself into the Halo series, which we're going to review on July 11th. And then because Jason insisted upon it, on August 29th, we will be doing a long road to ruin. Just he and I, no Sean Comer. We will be doing Anaconda because you don't want none unless you got buns, hon.
And on the 18th, we're doing a TV party tonight, Resident Evil.
Correct. No. What? Oh, did I just not put your name in that yet?
It's on my calendar.
Hang on.
You got me added on it.
Hang on.
I think you probably moved the Resident Evil TV party around because this is what Mark does with the schedule.
Hang on. Everyone shut the fuck up. Let me look at and see what's going on. Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? I didn't put your name in the comments. That's why.
Because you forgot about me. Damn it.
No, your email's in there, you sissy pants. I just didn't put your name in the comments.
You don't get to say that. I'm the only one Mark's legitimately forgotten about adding to a podcast.
that's not wrong.
But
no, wait. I forgot to add Dave too.
But my favorite podcast upcoming is coming September 26th.
Which one's that? Because I just shut the window.
That is our triple feature of Death Proof, Planet Terror, and Hobo with a Shotgun.
That's right.
Wow.
It's gonna be a fun one.
You're gonna, dude. Hobo with a shotgun is rough.
Well, for Jason, I will take it rough. Anyway, hey, we have a Discord that I've been told to tell people about. Let me quick talk about that before we end things for the night. The Discord link is in the description of this podcast. It's discord.gg/ a bunch of letters and numbers. Please go there. We are interactive, I've been told. We if you go in there as a fan of the show and you want to make comments, if you're like Amber and you're like, you fucktards are way too critical, what we agree with Amber. This movie rocks our socks right down in the box. And you guys complain too much, especially that Robert who gets no bitches. All of it needs to stop. True story, by the way. As confirmed on TikTok.
The only comment Mark has ever received on TikTok was
and it's glorious.
Was someone saying that I do not attract members of the opposite sex, and to which all I can say is, yeah, I don't subscribe to the notion of casual relationships the way that other people do. I'm a religious individual. Hey, what do you want me to do? I hope you enjoy your various STDs, buddy.
Anyway, yes, this guy on TikTok said Robert gets no bitches when he complained about Cheaper by the Dozen. I laughed hysterically and had to share that with Robert, so who's clearly taking it in stride. In any case, the point of all that is, if you I
get significantly more upset about the people in the comments section of my wrestling who go, boy, I can tell from the first sentence this asshole wrote that he doesn't want to be here doing this. Like, yeah, it's my job. I do things on occasion I'm not terribly thrilled about. What do you expect?
At which point, Robert virtually takes his pants off and throws his penis on the table and says, anyone want to crack at it? Now, listen.
Not how I even begin to visualize or conceptualize.
Okay, I'm out. I'm leaving on that one.
Anyway, please join our Discord for more of Robert throwing his penis on the table and
interactions. Be featured anywhere on the actual server.
If you would like to interact with us, in all seriousness, folks, if I can be serious for a moment, that is where we are planning our podcast. That is where we are talking with people, and that is a great place to interact with us, ask us questions, make comments, etc. We will be active. All of us there who contribute to these podcasts, Robert especially, myself, Jesse, Jason, are happy to interact with you as you would on any of the various Discord servers. So please join our Discord and be part of our little community here that we've created, full of fun and frolicking.
Just go on there and just harass Robert as much as possible. And also, if we get Pat Mullen on there, just always just send Pat stuff. Pat and Robert.
If you could send Pat a lot of stuff from the LGBTQ community, he'd really appreciate it.
Why would you do that, Mark? Why would you lie to the people?
Hi, I'm Mark. Have we met? In any case,
why didn't you go into politics? Why haven't you run for office, by the way?
Because I worked in porn.
At what point is that a disqualifier in your state at this point in time?
It's true. I could be the mayor of Toronto.
Good point.
In any case, we also have a YouTube. Please like and subscribe. And of course, wherever you found this audio, if you happen to have found it by accident, if you haven't already subscribed, please do.
If you slipped, if you were looking for something else and the path beneath your feet eroded and you tumbled down that 500-foot cliff, much like The Rock did in The Rundown, and you landed down here with us, we welcome you with open arms.
And please like and subscribe on whatever audio medium podcast catcher that you are currently using. And hey, if you have a comment or a suggestion or whatever, please leave one.
Keep it to your damn self.
And shut up, Jason, and leave us a rating. With that said, the rest of what we're doing this week, real quick. Yesterday, myself and Sean Comer reviewed Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, John Carter, and Barbarella. Also, because The Bad Guys is this week, we have been re-airing all of our DreamWorks stuff that we did. So Robert and I did A Long Road to Ruin for Madagascar.
That was something.
Robert, Jason, and I reviewed How to Train Your Dragon 2 and Kung Fu Panda 3. Both of those are up. Tomorrow is the anniversary of the Deepwater Horizon disaster from BP during the Obama administration.
Oh, you mean the actual disaster, not the movie?
Well, that too.
Which was also kind of a disaster.
So the actual anniversary of the disaster is tomorrow. We are honoring said disaster by re-releasing our review of the Deepwater Horizon movie starring Mark Wahlberg.
That's all you need to know that it's not good. It stars Mark Wahlberg.
In the evening times, we will be reviewing Ghost Impera. And then tomorrow, Thursday, myself and Alexis Hannah are reviewing Green Eggs and Ham, the second serving. And then myself and David Wright will be reviewing Star Trek Lower Decks. For those who were expecting us to do a live stream last week of the Spence Eugenius Ugas fight, I was at a club with my wife. I won't tell you what kind of club. That's my own business. But I was at a club. And
a turkey sandwich?
There were lots of turkey sandwiches getting plucked. That's the kind of club it was. Lots of turkey sandwich. Lots of turkeys getting plucked and stuffed. Anyway, I was at a club all night.
More than a little bit of basting.
Oh, there was a lot of basting. Oh, so much basting. And you could tour the kitchen and watch various turkeys being basted and plucked if you wish, and cooked. Or you could actually participate in said cooking of turkeys.
Has Mark mentioned that he worked in porn?
I wrote marketing. I just wrote marketing. In any case,
you had a nickname, buddy. That's more like by the time someone gives you a nickname, it's a bit more like you don't get to just back. You were not in an office somewhere writing ad copy. You were there.
I was. I watched as Christy Mist emerged from that. Never mind. Anyway,
you did too. That's the sad thing. He's not joking.
That is a true story. Anyway, as I was trying to say, we were out late Saturday, enjoying ourselves, and I did not get home in time for the Spence fight. But I will this weekend be doing a live stream by hook or by crook for Tyson Fury versus Dillian White.
For the record, Spence, once he turned that on, he beat the crap out of.
I haven't watched it yet. Shut up.
You know how it ends. You've heard of the ending, haven't you?
I know. I've maintained radio silence. I don't know what happened.
Okay, here's all I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
There's a moment in, I think it's the 5th or the 6th.
Yeah.
Where Spence gets rocked.
Okay.
After that moment, until the end of the fight, Spence outlands Ugas by more than a ratio of like more than 8-1.
Nice.
Strikes.
Cool.
Like
I'm gonna try to watch it this weekend when I get some time to catch up on TV. In any case, we are in fact doing. If I never do another live stream again, with the way my life is going, I'm probably not. We will at least be doing. I'm going out on a bang with Tyson Fury versus Dillian White. So that'll be me and Dan Lasby this weekend from London town.
And you guys get a good fight. I have to cover the UFC event.
Yeah, you poor bastard. All right, speaking of covering the UFC, go ahead, Robert. Do it real quick and let's get out of here.
Yeah, I cover MMA for 411mania.com. Oh, usually only the UFC occasionally. If there's a really big card from another promotion, I will do so. But this last week was UFC on ESPN 30 something. 4? 6? I don't know.
Sounds good.
It was headlined by Bilal Muhammad and Vicente Luque. Sort of having a fight for 5 rounds. It was not a good card. But if you want to know what happened and spare yourself the pain of watching a 14-fight event, not a joke, 14 fights, a lot of decisions. God, that was an over 6-hour event now that I think about it. It's in the MMA zone of 411mania.com. You can look it up, get my scoring, get my thoughts. It's all there. This week will be UFC on ESPN plus 60 something 3. It's headlined by Amanda Lemos and Jessica Andrade, and it's kind of all downhill from there. Chase Sherman's coming back. This will be his 3rd time returning to the UFC because heavyweights. Oy. But I'll be covering it, so stop by, say hello. That's all done live over in the MMA zone of 411mania.com. I cover professional wrestling a few nights a week, AEW's Dark Elevation on Monday, MLW stuff on Thursday, WWE SmackDown on Friday, and occasionally I get called up to do other things because I am permanently on deck guy, and most of the time if someone asks, I will say yes. That's how I wound up here. And if Mark ever asks If Mark ever asks me to leave, I will probably say yes because I do.
Whatever.
No.
You're married to the
No,
network.
I will never ask you to leave. I will ask my wife to leave before I ask you to leave. Okay.
That's comforting and disturbing on so many levels.
You ain't kidding, brother. All right.
I'm never going to a turkey club with you. I'm just saying it.
No, I would take you on classy dates. I take
I
Luck in her eyes back there to the turkey club.
I would never go on a date with you.
You say that now.
I would.
I know.
Take
Are you?
Jason.
Are you? I will. We have a whole thing set up. Wide brim hats and pimp walks.
Yeah.
Down what is it? City Walk.
City Walk.
Yeah.
You are going to record that. You're going to put that on TikTok, and I know, and it's going to be great.
That's gonna be it's gonna be the thing that makes me TikTok famous. Speaking of which, hey Amber, get this, right? I'll send it to you. So I'm at work, right? And now I'm known for on my breaks, going into the break room away from everybody else. I actually go to the private break room near transfer release. And nobody goes into that break room. That's why I'm in there, because I don't want to talk to other human beings. But I am on TikTok during that. And I tend to do a lot of like quick TikToks, like a lot of duets and stitches. To kind of feed the algorithm. And it was really slow yesterday. So I'm scrolling through TikTok on my phone and I see a really fun one to duet. So I did. It was talking about like men's mental health and depression. And, and the girl goes, hey, what's your favorite trauma response? And she's really cutesy about it. And so, my favorite trauma response is I'm fine. Everything's fine. It'll be fine. Right. Which is what all women want to hear their men say. Now, here's the problem. About an hour later, I'm back in the break room again. Now, this is at my desk, mind you, because I was bored and there was nobody to place on an observation at the time. So I'm talking with all my friends, right? I'm chatting away, watching TikTok, et cetera, and I get a text from one of my bosses with the link to the TikTok and an emoji with a frustrated woman putting her hand over her face. Going, hey, asshole, you're not supposed to do TikToks at work. And on that note...
Did you say I was on my break?
No, because you knew exactly where it was. You could see the printer in the background.
Don't do TikToks at work.
Don't do TikToks when you're actually working. I can be in the break room and do them.
Hey, don't do them on the clock.
Yeah, next time I'm going to turn around and face an inmate while I'm doing it. Like
have them duet with you.
Yeah, I'm going to have them duet with me.
Hey, number 64209. Let's. How do you feel?
I'm going to do the TikTok trend where it's just two guys staring at each other. I'm going to be like just a mental health professional and inmate staring at one another to more than a woman, which is a TikTok trend. And now that I've said TikTok trend 3 times, it's time to end this show. For Amber Teasley of the Chair Shot Hallmark people, for Jason Teasley and Tyler Louder with Crowder, and for Robert Winfree, who gets no bitches, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.